Hello, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Listen, in our little series here of short, quick videos trying to summarize self-defense laws, I'm going to go back to a question that I got a lot last summer of 2020, the summer of love. And the question is, can I use deadly force to defend my property in Washington State? Okay, before we get rolling, you guys know the drill. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button down below. If you want to stay apprised of issues related to your Second Amendment rights, not only on a statewide but nationwide level, go ahead and click subscribe down below. Click the little bell logo if you want to be notified when we post new videos. And most importantly, let's see the comments rolling down there, because that's how the YouTube algorithm gets our video out to more lawful and responsible gun owners like yourself, and how we build this large online Washington gun law community of lawful and responsible gun owners like you. So this question came up an awful lot last summer during a summer of love of mostly peaceful protest in which windows were being shattered, properties were being looted, buildings were being burned, and I got many questions from many frustrated business owners that simply was, hey, can I use deadly force to defend my property? Can I use deadly force to defend my store? Now, if you know from a couple of the other videos that we posted on the laws of self-defense in Washington State, we know the following rules. Number one, any force that we use has to be necessary. That is, that there is no other alternative means. Absent, we don't have any duty to retreat or anything like that. But the force we use is necessary. Number two, that the force we use is reasonable. That is, both from an objective and subjective standpoint, any other reasonable person would have felt that the use of force is necessary. And finally, that the use of force has to be proportional. That is, the force that we use to defend ourselves has to be proportional to the force that we're repelling, or as I like to say, you don't get to bring a gun to a fist fight. Now, we also know in RCW 9A.16.050 that the state legislature has enumerated several instances in which the use of deadly force or homicide is justifiable. We also know from case law that case law has gone out and also very clearly delineated when the use of deadly force is reasonable and or lawful. We know from statute that a person can use deadly force when they or someone in their presence is facing a violent felony, or when a felony is being committed in their place of abode or dwelling or anything as that. And we also know from case law, and this is the most important thing, that deadly force cannot be used by an individual unless and only unless they are in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. Absent that quantum of proof, the use of deadly force is not necessary. Now, is the use of force allowed to defend property? Absolutely, positively, as long as it is proportional. But when we come to the issue of property, no matter how much we dearly love that property, no matter how much we enjoy that property or what its actual or sentimental value may be, you yourself are not personally in imminent threat if only your property is being threatened. And for that reason, and that reason alone, and I want to make this perfectly clear, the use of deadly force to defend property in Washington State is not allowed by law. Let me say that again. The use of deadly force to defend only property in Washington State is not permitted by law. Now, there certainly could be situations where individuals start out attempting to damage only property, but it could turn into either a felony act or an act which endangers individuals inside that particular building. Take, for example, the rioters who are smashing windows out. At the time that they're smashing windows out, they are only damaging property. And while there is no justification for it whatsoever, and the storekeeper would certainly have the right to use some reasonable and proportional force to defend the store, lethal force would not be permitted in that situation. But let's say things escalate from there, and now they're throwing Molotov cocktails into the store in which the owner occupies. Well, now you have a felony that's being committed inside the dwelling that they are lawfully allowed in. The felony is one of arson, and certainly arson creates a significant risk of death or serious bodily injury. So would or could deadly force be justified in that situation? The answer is yes, it could be justified. And then, of course, that brings us to the $64,000 question that we talk all the time here at Washington Gun Law, which is just because you have the right to do something does not necessarily mean that it's the right thing to do. And so we have to think very careful and long and hard before deploying deadly force for two reasons. Number one, if it turns out to be without legal justification, we are facing significant criminal liability, and I'm talking about significant jail and or prison time. However, even if it's lawfully justified, even if it's completely condoned under the law, the individual who has pulled the trigger will suffer consequences beyond your imagination. And as I have mentioned before, I have represented many clients who have pulled the trigger with absolute 100% lawful justification, and yet the impact to them emotionally, personally, financially, professionally was beyond measure. So, in summary, can you use lethal force to defend property in the state of Washington? No, you may not. You may only use lethal force if you or somebody in your presence is in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. Listen, you may have more questions about defense of your property or anything related to your right of self-defense or your Second Amendment rights. And if you do, don't ever hesitate to contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Listen, part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.